Good afternoon to you. Today we will continue with the Constitution class. Yesterday we have seen the legislative powers of the Parliament. So, legislative powers we have seen 7th schedule and Article 246, 245, etc. And we have also seen concurrent powers, concurrent subjects. Schedule 7, that is list 3. There is to some extent some overlapping will be there, because when we see the center-state relations, the same issue will crop up. But at that time we will see. But now we are seeing the legislative powers of the Parliament with a special reference to Schedule 7. While the Parliament and state legislatures have exclusive legislative powers over the subjects in the Union list and state list respectively, both the Parliament and state legislatures can legislate over the subjects in concurrent list. Concurrent subjects fall in the common territory. Both the union and states have a common interest on them. Remember, on these items, depending upon the circumstances and the situations, central government or states or both will make the relevant law. Uniformity of law throughout the country is essential in the national interest. Accordingly, the Parliament also has the powers to legislate. Being restricted to its own territory, the state legislatures cannot ensure uniformity, because the law made by the state legislature is applicable only to that state. On the other hand, the problems may differ from state to state, especially say take education, take labor. So it may demand different treatment at different times in different regions, suitable to the circumstances which are peculiar to the particular state. So, in nutshell, what is the very purpose of this concurrent list? What is the rationale of having a concurrent list in India? First thing is to secure uniformity in main principles of law. That is the first purpose. Secondly, to encourage local efforts, because local circumstances and local efforts. Thirdly, flexibility in public policy. These are all the three main important background need for having a concurrent list. This is the point you should remember. Now, while dealing with the concurrent list, the National Commission for Review of working of the Constitution, in 2002, it was established in 2002, they recognized the need for concurrent list. They said concurrent list is a must, it is necessary, but suggested harmonious operation of concurrent list both by the states and the center, because it should not be in a competitive spirit, it should be in a harmonious relations, as in the case of directive principles. Similarly, the Sarkaria Commission has recommended that the laws in respect of concurrent subject should be made only after active consultation with the state government. It is not unilaterally the central government will make a law. You first consult the state governments. After all, because you should remember the fact that whether it is union law or state law, who is implementing? It is only state administration. Only state authorities are implementing the law. So naturally, unless there is a consensus between the center and the states, the implementation of law will not be effective. So you may make 100 items of law, but unless the law is enforced faithfully, it will not bring you the fruit. So naturally, the harmonious relations between the center and the state and the involvement of the state in the subject to which requires implementation by the state administration should be two things which should be kept in mind while making a law in the concurrent subject. These are all the recommendation of the what is known as Sarkaria Commission, as well as the National Commission for Reviewing of the Working of the Constitution. So, these 2 points you should remember. Now, we will see the normal distribution of powers in Schedule 7 we have seen, list 1, list 2, list 3. Now, there are certain circumstances under which Union Parliament has the powers to make law even on the state subjects. Union Parliament has the powers to make law even on the state subject on certain circumstances. Now, we should know what are those special circumstances on which Parliament is competent to make law on the state subject. That is the point. From the main point of view, it is the main examination point of view, it is important, and preliminary also it is important. Now, first thing is, under Article 249 of the Constitution, Rajya Sabha can pass a resolution authorizing Parliament to legislate on one or more subjects in the state list on national interest. That is, Rajya Sabha should pass a resolution authorizing Parliament to make a law on any state subject included in the resolution, but for in the national interest. These laws are valid only for 1 year. Of course, it can be renewed every year by similar proclamation. Remember, most importantly, the law, that is the authorizes the resolution, has to be passed by Lok Sabha by 2/3 majority of the members sitting and voting. Don't say absolute majority, don't say special majority, it is only 2/3 majority of the members sitting and voting. And it is not a law by itself, it is only a resolution. This law will be valid only for 1 year, that you should remember. Secondly, under Article 250, first one is 249, second is 250. That is when the national emergency under Article 352. Remember, don't confuse both. One is which gives you the power to the Parliament to make law. That is 250. The 352 is the circumstances. Then 352, that is when the national emergency under Article 352 in force in the country, then Article 250, under Article 250, Parliament assumes the powers on, that is legislative powers on concurrent subject. So the list 7, that is the Schedule 7 stands suspended. All list is amalgamated and all list will become union list. That is, there is no difference between concurrent list and state subject. It's all union subjects because the Schedule 7 is suspended. So, the concurrent legislative the jurisdiction over the state subjects are acquired by the Parliament because the state list will become concurrent list. However, nevertheless, this will cease to have any effect on expiry of 6 months after the proclamation of emergency. After the proclamation of emergency, 6 months it will be, such a law will be valid. After that, that law will become invalid, unenforceable, repugnancy. Then, this is so, we have seen Article 249 through Rajya Sabha resolution, 250 under 352. So, when the 352 is in vogue, 250 operates, 252 operates. The third is under Article 252. First is 249, 250, now 252. Under 252, Article 252, two or more state legislatures, underline the word, two or more state legislatures can pass a law asking the Parliament to make a law. Say, two or more states under Article 252 can pass a resolution, remember, can pass a resolution asking the Parliament to make law on any subject in the state list. Kindly remember, most important point, that is, what is the article number? 252. What is to be done? Two or more state legislatures will pass a resolution authorizing Parliament to make a law on a state subject given in the resolution, by which the Parliament gets the powers to make law on the state subject. So, here you should remember two or more states, resolution 252 authorizing Parliament to make a law on the state subject, and such a law made by the Parliament can be adopted by other states also. This is Article 252. So, first 249, second 250, third 252. Now, Article 253. What is Article 253? That is, the Parliament can make law, any law for which any part of the country to implement any treaty or sonnet. Very simple. Article 253 says, suppose let us say there is an agreement between Bangladesh and India, Perubari agreement. So to transfer villages from India to Bangladesh, Bangladesh to India. So such a treaty, when it is to be implemented, even if the subject is in the state subject, even if the subject is in the state list, Parliament gets the powers. Because it is a common interest to implement a treaty. The treaty is between two countries in which India is the party. So, automatically under Article 253 of the Constitution, Parliament can make a law to implement any treaty or agreement or sonnet which has been made between two countries. So, 249, 250, 252, 253. Now comes Article 356. You know, under Article 356, when a precedent rule is imposed in a state, the state government is dismissed and the state legislature is either dissolved or it kept under animated suspension. So both are not there. So naturally, all the legislative powers of the state of that particular state, underline, that particular state stands transferred to Parliament. So Parliament can make a law on any subject in the state list, underline the word, only with reference to that particular state. Only with reference to particular state. Why? President rule is imposed. And that state legislative powers stand transferred to union legislature. So naturally, union parliament gets the powers to make a law on any state subject only with reference to that particular state under Article 356. So, this is the fifth or sixth one. Secondly, under Article 248 of the Constitution, Parliament has exclusive powers to make any law with regard to any subject which is not included in any of the list in the 7th schedule. Because yesterday I told you, with the globalization, with the privatization, with the liberalization, with the debureaucratization, with the automation, with so much of improvement, development in the country, there may be subjects which are pouring in, which you will not be able to find in any of the three lists. Then what does it mean? Who will legislate? So, there is a provision in Article 248, if any subject is not included in any of the three lists, 1, list 2, list 3, in the 7th schedule, that subject is called residuary subject, and residuary subject jurisdiction comes to Parliament. So, Parliament can make law on any residuary subjects and state legislatures have no power. Now, the question is, who decides that it is a residuary subject? There may be overlapping. Who is competent to decide? It is only the Supreme Court. Once the Supreme Court has decided that this particular subject, this particular service tax is a residuary subject, then Parliament gets automatic power to legislate on such a residuary subject which has been declared by Supreme Court. This is the Article 248. Then another. Secondly, the Union Parliament has exclusive powers to make law on all subjects, including state subjects, with regard to union territories. Why? The powers are divided in the 7th schedule only between union and the states. Who are the federating units? The powers are division of powers. Division of powers is only between the union and the states, and union territories are not part of the part of the states. They are not independent. So the union territories other than Pondicherry, Delhi and Jammu and Kashmir, now all other union territories have no legislature. So they are part of the union government. So naturally, with regard to the what is known as this union territories, the Parliament has the powers to make law on all subjects, including state subjects. So, this is the point you should remember. So this is with reference to union territory. Now from the examination point of view, who decides residuary subject? Supreme Court. UTs have no power to legislate except, of course, UTs with state legislatures. Number 2. Article 249, Rajya Sabha only authorizes, and this is the special power of Rajya Sabha. What is the other power which is special to Rajya Sabha? Article 312. That is creation of All India services. Such a resolution, remember, should be passed only by two-third majority of the members present and voting. Don't say special majority, don't say absolute majority. These are peculiar for the Rajya Sabha cases. That is two-third majority of the members present and voting. And most importantly, any law made by the parliament during president rule is applicable only to that particular state and not to the country, not to the other part of the country. So up to this we have seen on what circumstances the union parliament can make a law on the state subject. We will continue in the next class. Thank you.